we take a look at a different way to play a Feather Burn deck with friends like Stuffy Doll and Boros Reckoner, next on Commander Replay. We have a bunch of new Patreon supporters. We've got Militia Bugler and we've got EP. You guys are awesome. If you want to help support the channel and vote on which decks I play next, feel free to check out my Patreon, the link below. And be sure to use the TCG affiliate player link if you're buying Ikoria and Commander 2020 cards, as it helps support the channel and it doesn't cost you anything. And finally, if you want to sign up to play paper webcam games with me for the cost of $10, please check the Eventbrite link in the description below. Welcome back, everyone. Playing some Feather the Redeemed today, trying out an experimental build. So Jared had sent me his deck list to work on, and I was feeling like it was a split between kind of the token thing and the burn thing, so I'm trying out just a brand new burn build right here. Anyway, looking at this opening hand, it is a 0-lander, so we're going to go ahead and mulligan that. Again, I'm just testing stuff out, so anything that you see in this video, don't take it as gospel. I'm just experimenting, seeing what happens, and we'll see how it plays. Trying to break some of the Feather norms, trying to get away from a lot of the cards that, you know, are the quote-unquote auto-includes, since we're just trying to do something different with this deck, and we'll see how it goes. Anyway, we're still on one land. Kozilek will play a ton of mana rocks if we draw a... no card draw, 2 removal spells. Do we go to 6? One land gets us into Dockside, or actually also gets us into Signet. Oh man, this gets our win condition. Probably we need to get a Smothering Tithe just to have good mana production. Oh man, we could make it work, but I've had some risky hands backfire on me lately, so I'm going to mulligan down to 6. Okay, that's 3 lands, ramp, removal, and protection. That seems a little bit better. No card draw. I think I might have cut the card draw just a little bit too much in the deck. We'll keep and put Jaya's Immolating Inferno to the bottom. It makes me sad. That is a card that I have been wanting to try out for a very long time with this deck. Even when I build my paper builds of it, it's always in there like right until the last second, and then it comes out. We'll want to crack this Myriad Landscape ASAP. We do have a little bit... Ooh, now we've got way too much colorless land in our hand. So yeah, definitely Myriad Landscape first, and gonna need to crack that as soon as humanly possible. Here we go. Darksteel Citadel into Mana Crypt. Voltaic Key, opponent now has Metalcraft. I say that because Mox Opal was one of the cards that I was kind of laboring over whether to keep or cut from this deck. I counted 16 artifacts in the deck, plus a Dockside, plus a Smothering Tithe. It's pretty low. That doesn't mean that you're turning Mox Opal on probably in your first 3 or so turns, and in all likelihood, probably later than that. Luckily with the Kozilek deck, I mean, I know that deck can be fast and do things, but there is generally a lot of weakness in playing the colorless Eldrazi decks like that. The types of effects that you have access to are pretty limited and or expensive to use. You don't really get the most efficient versions of anything, again, because it's all colorless, goes in any deck. There's a draw spell. That makes me feel a lot better. So let's get the Sunhome into play. Nothing to do right here, so we'll tap out and pass. Next turn, we'll crack the Myriad Landscape. But yeah, you know what I mean? Even if they ramp, the types of things that they can do are generally just more limited than what other decks will have access to. On the other hand, casting Kozilek, drawing a bunch of cards, and countering your stuff is also just good enough a lot of the time. So having a way to get rid of Kozilek will be a good idea. And Kozilek being piloted by Camlake 2, by the way, so curious to see this. Haven't really seen a colorless deck in a little while. See what they got going. I'm sure there's got to be some new tools that have come out for these style of decks. I still got to revisit Emrakul. It's been so long since I've played that deck. That was like one of the very early decks I played in this channel. Huge Archive coming in for opponent, yeah. We'll continue on what our opponents are playing today. So next up we've got Tyrant of Ruin piloting Kaeravek the Merciless. This one goes back a ways, coming out of Time Spiral. It says, whenever an opponent casts a spell, do that much damage to any target. What? Kaeravek makes things quick. Kaeravek also is going to synergize kind of with what we're doing in that we're trying to burn everyone out. Kaeravek really good at burning people out. But it is also usually the arch enemy in any game that it plays. So hopefully it'll also take the distraction off of us, but the problem with Kaeravek is that you can do everything right in a game and your life total is still just really low if they choose to target you with it, like, and you're just on the brink of death. And they blow up your stuff, so Kaeravek is really nasty. I should play Kaeravek. That one's been around for a while. I have one in my box, and I've just never built the deck, but it's also like, it's not the most fun thing to play against. Probably fun to play, I would imagine, because you just get free damage everywhere, but... And finally, we've got new Patreon supporter Hammerbangers playing Queen Marchesa, and they've got a Boros Challenger. They send it into the Kozilek opponent. Brings back to our turn. There's an Electrostatic Field. That is a good card. All right, things are starting to take shape a little bit. I'm hoping we don't get wheeled at any point. That would be not great for what's going on right now. There are 2 red decks and a colorless deck. The colorless deck could have a memory jar, and they probably do because it's pretty good card draw and colorless. Anyway, let's crack the Myriad Landscape. I think we're going to be on double planes right here. Seems good with the Bandage. Pass the turn like that. Bandage probably my favorite of all the feather draw spells. Not because it's the best, but because it's the funniest when that preventing 1 damage is actually relevant. I had someone come in for exactly 21 commander damage one time, and I prevented 1 of it. I'm pretty sure I lost the next turn, but for that moment, it was glorious. Kuldotha Forgemaster coming into play. Yeah. One thing we'll need to be careful of, there isn't like a ton we can do about it, but, you know, it may or may not happen depending on what opponents have, especially we got Rakdos and we've got Mardu. Kozilek is coughing out artifacts at a high rate, including this Kuldotha Forgemaster. That's really going to heavily incentivize someone to lay down a Vandal Blast, Austere Command, something like that that's going to blow up all the artifacts. That would be terrible for us. I'm looking at our Gilded Lotus and our Veilstone Amulet right here, but I think it's just a chance that we have to take, you know, unless we knew that they have it. Don't really know that we can do much about it. Do have Boros Charm in the deck, and Teferi's Protection. Hopefully we draw them before something like that can happen. Queen Marchesa passes. No attacks. Brings back to our turn, we draw Impact Resonance. Cool card. Don't need that just yet, but in the future. I'm pretty excited about what that can do. So I think this turn is going to be the Gilded Lotus, and then the Veilstone Amulet. And next turn we hopefully get Feather going. Pretty mixed feelings about Gilded Lotus in this deck. In the case that we ramped to get into the Gilded Lotus, it's actually pretty good. Comes in nice and quick when that happens, but if you got to hard cast it on like turn 5, or even worse, if you missed land drops and you're casting it later than 5, it can definitely be clunky, but it does add a much needed amount of colored mana to the deck, I think. So I don't run Gilded Lotus all that often these days, but I think Feather is probably a deck where you still at least want to consider it. This deck is going to be pretty heavy on the mana requirements, so I did feel like Gilded Lotus would be necessary for it. Opponent doing the old Voltaic Key trick to get some extra mana on the Mana Crypt. We should actually be very scared about this Kuldotha Forgemaster. Oh, there's a Darksteel Forge. Nice. Well, now if an Austere Command comes down, it's only going to hit our stuff. But that Forge may actually be good enough that it keeps that play from happening, since it's not actually going to do that much. Oh, Darksteel Forge. Kozilek, thankfully not an artifact. That's a Stranglehold. Oh my. Let's do a little double check, make sure we don't have anything that searches. We do not currently. Extra turns, and searching your library, out the window. Swiftfoot Boots for the Kaeravek. That should make it awful when the time comes that we need to kill Kaeravek. Oh, opponent said they just drew a fetch. Ouch. Well, it's going to give them a lot of incentive to try and blow up that Stranglehold. Cryptic Caves, that's one I haven't seen. Sacrifice to draw a card, activate this only if you control 5 or more lands. That's not the worst thing I've seen. Makes it kind of similar to, like, maybe think of it like one of the cycling lands, except that it comes in untapped. Makes colorless mana, but meh, it's not awful. There's a Zada. I actually really like what our hand is doing right now. We're going to cast Feather. This is where you kind of got to be like tricky about what you're doing. So we're going to use the Gilded Lotus to cast Feather. Use this Mountain. Veilstone Amulet will give our non-existent creatures hexproof. We'll use Bandage, targeting Feather. And this will trigger Feather and the Veilstone Amulet, and then we'll get to draw a card. Auto these triggers. But yeah, I did have to think for a second about exactly how I was going to pay for the mana this turn with the Gilded Lotus. This was the best option that I came up with, because now we can leave the 2 planes up for our opponent's turns. We draw into bonus round. Looks like we do need to find some red mana. Seem to be a little bit short on the red. Next turn we can look at trying to get Zada into play. And if we're drawing with Zada, then we'll be drawing 2 cards at a time, and that'll be really good. So Bandage comes back at the end step. And it'll go to Kozilek's turn. Mana Crypt flip on them. They're down to 29 already. I think they got attacked once for 2. Must be just a lot of Mana Crypts going on over there. You know, every life they lose helps our deck drastically. I'll be honest, we could probably cut Sunhome from this deck. Colorless lands are really awkward in this deck, and you really only want the ones that you badly, badly need. This is not really an attacking feather deck. Sure, you might attack occasionally. I did put a Sword of the Animist into the deck for additional mana ramp, Dowsing Dagger, but this deck may just not be built to do the Sunholm, give it double strike thing, because early in the game, the colorless mana can be very, very awkward. Here comes Kozilek. With Kozilek on the stack, I'm going to go ahead and bandage right now. Make sure that it doesn't get countered. We draw Aria of Flame. That's our win condition. Opponent draws up to 7 cards in hand. So unbelievably good. With the way the turn order is right now, both opponents are going to take a turn before we do after that Kozilek coming into play. Hopefully they burn a lot of cards into Kozilek counterspells. Forge Master going to do some attacking. Yep. Swings into the Kaeravek. Bandage coming back at the end step. Nice. That's a Dread. I know it doesn't show up a ton anymore, but I just love Dread. It's such a cool and interesting card. Gonna put some boots on it. When that cycle was spoiled, I don't know why, I just fell in love with this card. There are many probably better 6-drops than that now, but such a cool card. Probably means opponent doesn't have a 6-drop in hand. I might have countered Dread if they did, because Dread's actually a problem for Kozilek. Opponent's gonna Wheel of Fortune. Oh, this is gonna get weird. Oh, we're gonna lose. We're losing all of our good stuff. Just everything we would have wanted. Bandage in response to that doesn't do anything. Actually, it saves the bandage. We'll see if either of these get countered. They may or may not. Yeah, this is just like all of our finishing power going away right here. I hope that this wheel gets countered. Priority on Kozilek. Let's see what they want to do. They're countering the wheel. Nice. The wheel gets countered. Let's see if they counter bandage. Would they discard? They discarded a Palladium Mirror. Wow, that just bailed us out big time. That's a Stuffy Doll. Definitely want to get that into play. So bandage will come back at the end step. Ooh, we draw Enlightened Tutor, you say. Can we get Dark... We're not going to have enough mana to do all this. Guarantee it. But I was thinking along the lines of something like, get Stuffy Doll, cast Blasphemous Act, watch all this stuff die. Then also try to Enlightened Tutor, get Darksteel Plate for Feather, so that it doesn't get blown away in the Blasphemous Act. Also, we're just going to need a big blocker, something indestructible. 2 indestructible blockers would be pretty effective against the Kozilek. Let's try baiting on 2 mana right here. Cast the Electrostatic Field. Oh my god, with Impact Resonance? So if we do the Stuffy Doll... Oh, maybe we go for Stuffy Doll right here. I'm going to try Stuffy Doll. Hopefully this doesn't get countered. Now the problem here is we can only choose one opponent. I was in chat and Kozilek volunteered for the Stuffy Doll. There you go. Oh, if our stuff survives, we're going to be able to do some ridiculous stuff next turn. Mana Crypt flip on opponent. Tyrant said, don't pick me and I won't pick you. Yeah, that's fair. They get to choose whenever they want with Kaeravek. Seems a little too good if you ask me. Oh, man. Pretty nervous about that Kaeravek. Oh, that's an Ulamog. Well, we have the hexproof thing. Oh, come on, Veilstone Amulet. Going for Stuffy Doll and Stranglehold. Okay, so we just bandage. Or we could Enlighten Tutor right here, actually. Yeah, I'm going to Enlighten Tutor right here, so we just got to cast anything, right? Cast a spell, yep, any spell. So Enlighten Tutor, and that'll deal 1 with the Electrostatic. Oh no! Dread kills our Electrostatic Pummeler because it deals damage to opponent. Oh no, what? Yeah, that's just not an interaction that I've ever thought about or ran into before. Oh, and we can't search our library. Cool. Yep. Totally forgot about that. Double punt. Double punt. That was about as bad as things could go. Lost the Electrostatic. It did 1 damage. And did not get our Darksteel Plate. Alright. Alright. At least we evaded the Kozilek. Yeah, the double punt was bad right there. I don't know if I've ever... that might have been like one of my worst individual plays. I've had some like really bad like single punts, but to botch 2 just right on the same moment like that, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Here comes Kaeravek. Oh, yeah. Oh, if we could get a protection spell off the top for Feather, that would be so cool. Because if we protect Feather, then we can Impact Resonance on Stuffy Doll. Kaeravek gonna shoot the Eldrazi player. Yep. Ooh, even if nothing else, we can still... Yeah. Oh, everything's looking good. Things are looking good. Signet for the Queen Marchesa. We draw land. Yeah, I guess just play the land. I was thinking about if we were going to draw more cards or not. Maybe, maybe not. I'm still got to figure out exactly what's happening this turn. Probably, let's see. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, deals that much damage to target player or planeswalker. So we'd probably want to start with that. How many creatures are in play? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Blasphemous Act will be 2 mana. Yeah, that's nice and cheap. So I guess start with the Aria? Kaeravek's going to trigger. Shoots the Eldrazi opponent. Aria of Flame's going to gain each opponent 10 life. Play Blasphemous Act. Aria of Flame will trigger. Veilstone will trigger. We'll just target the Eldrazi player with this first one. Gonna need to start thinking about the Kaeravek, although Kaeravek's gonna die right here, so... Opponent goes to 24. We put a counter on the Aria of Flame. If we do the Impact Resonance thing right now, we get it back, but don't get that much damage. We'll get, what, 5 damage? Well, we should probably just do it. Impact Resonance, 9 damage. Whew! It's pretty good. It's pretty good. One, it's Stuffy. Oh, is this creatures only? Target creatures. Okay, so it's just got to be Stuffy. Yeah, target Stuffy then, right? Kaeravek will get another trigger. Aria of Flame will get a trigger. This is going to be 9 plus 13. Opponent's getting down there. This is probably going to kill them. 9 damage off the Impact Resonance. Oh, I love this card. It's such a cool card. It's not like the best card, but it's definitely interesting. When it works, it works. Stuffy Doll does 9 damage to opponent. Opponent's down to 10. The Blasphemous Act will kill them. So now we draw with the Bandage, since we have floating mana. Kaeravek will get a trigger. Aria of Flame will get a trigger. We're going to target Tyrant with it this time. 1 red floating. Anything we can do with it? I don't think so. Oh, opponent's going to Forge Master for something. Do they have life gain, protection? The Stuffy ability is not targeted. It only targets on the way in. We have 4 instances of hexproof. Nice. So if you played a Detection Tower or whatever that card is, Arcane Lighthouse, I forget which one, would you have to remove each instance? Or do they all come off at once? There's a rules question. Oh, actually, so Veilstone Amulet is not hexproof. It is, whenever you cast a spell, creatures can't be the target of spells or abilities your opponents control, so it's not specifically hexproof. We ran into that weird thing with Canopy Cover, where it's also not specifically hexproof. It's essentially the same ability, but it doesn't have the keyword, which is very strange. So, everything getting blown up. Camlic goes down. Still got 2 opponents left. Red mana floating. Not much to do. We will pass the turn like that. 3 counters on our Aria of Flame. Things are looking pretty good so far. No attacks. And spells coming back with Feather. Bandage and Impact Resonance both come back. That's an Archfiend of Despair. Your opponents can't gain life at the beginning of each end step. They lose life equal to the amount of life they lost. Yup. Essentially double up on the life loss. Pretty good card right there. How are we getting out of this? Well, we have the Aria of Flame. That seems like a good start, right? So probably recast Feather. Then play Bandage as a start. Then maybe play the Impact Resonance. And, yeah, Impact Resonance should deal with that. Maybe. So Bandage would be 4. Impact Resonance would be 5. We need 1 additional damage somewhere. We can cast Zada first. No, does that do anything? Here's the problem, is that we can't retarget the Stuffy Doll, so maybe we do want 1 blink card in the deck, but I don't know, that might be like too janky, maybe? I don't know. There's a Sacred Foundry. May need that untapped, we'll see. Yeah, start by recasting Feather. That's what the deck needs to do. We'll have 1 white floating. Veilstone Amulet will trigger. Feather is back. Prevent the damage to Feather. Aria Flame will trigger, target Tyrant. There's a Champion's Helm. We probably want that, honestly. Do we have enough for it? We would have exactly enough with the untapped land. I think we want the... Yeah, I think we want it. Because if Kaeravek comes back in, then opponent plays a spell. Feather is going to die. That's a thing that's going to happen. So cast the Champion's Helm. Equip the Champion's Helm. And pass the turn. It's also going to help our Impact Resonance a little bit. At the end step, we're going to get our Feather ability and the Archfiend ability, so we lose 2 more. 4 life on that Sacred Foundry. It's a little bit. It's a little bit. Oh, that's a Master of Cruelties. They're putting boots on it. Oh, boy. Oh. Is Hammer about to go down? Yep. Hammer's about to go down to the Master of Cruelties. Gross. Gross. Opponent's down to 3 cards. Oh, right. They go to 1. I forgot about that. It doesn't completely killed him. Move the boots over to the Archfiend. Oh, the Archfiend should kill him, though. Yep, Archfiend takes them down. Down they go. Yeah, Kaeravek's a nasty deck. Has been for a long time. We draw into a mountain. Brings it back to our turn. And what are we doing here? How are we getting out of this? Yeah, Boots does change things. So probably need to start with Zada and just draw 3 cards. I think is where I want to be. Use the Gilded Lotus right here. And then use the colorless lands. Veilstone triggers. Use Bandage on Feather. Wait, did I have to target Zada with that? Whenever an instant targets... Oh, only Zada. That was a whoops. That was a big whoops. Meant to target Zada with that. Okay, okay. Shoot opponent with the Aria. We draw planes. But Aria's growing? Ooh. Okay. So the next one will be 6. The one after that will be 7. And then 8? We're very close to killing opponent. Wow, Aria Flame is really good with Feather. Also, we ramped in this game. That was a big thing, too. We had a good amount of ramp. Think we can just finish it. So, Impact Resonance, shoot the Master of Cruelties, and ding Stuffy Doll for 1 so that it comes back. Do need to pay 1. I guess we'll use a red mana right here. Aria Flame, shoot opponent in the face. Go to combat. We can actually attack with Feather. So this will do essentially 5 damage. Feather's got the damage prevention. So swing that in. Opponent's going to block. Oh, right. Well, I guess that was a question of whether opponent was keeping track of everything. They were. And Archfiend survives just fine. Oops. If we cast 7 and 8, that'll be 15. Wow, opponent's going to be at 1. Both of our spells cost 3 total, so I guess just play a Mistveil Plains. Feather triggers and Archfiend triggers. See if opponent's got anything nasty. So yeah, the Sphinx of the Bone Wand, or whatever that card is very similar to Aria Flame, just that it's like 7 mana, which is a lot. It does. You really got to take a turn off to get that thing into play, but if you like this style of play, it's definitely worth checking out. That's a Grave Titan. Good card, but I don't think that's going to do it right here. Basically just need to cast a couple spells, and we are all set. Here comes the Archfiend. Can we do anything about that? I don't know if we can, honestly. Feather's tapped. If we use that on ourselves, then we don't get the spell back. I guess that just happens. That will give us 6 damage on the Impact Resonance. It's definitely going to hurt at the end step. Okay, so end of the main phase. We're going to Bandage, target Feather. Aria Flame, shoot opponent. Feather, Veilstone. Oh, crap, I forgot to target Zada again. Ugh. Gonna figure it out eventually. Had a decent number of punts this game, but things are still okay. There's an Adamant Will. That should do it. Impact Resonance. Shoot the Grave Titan and Stuffy Doll. Aria Flame, shoot opponent. Feather and Veilstone. Opponent's at 1. Everything's going to come back at the end step. We're going to lose some life to that Archfiend. Impact, Resonance, and Bandage come back. Brings it back to our turn. There's an insult to injury. Cast a Bandage. This time we'll target Zada. Get it right. And Aria Flame, shoot opponent. Choose targets for Zada. Choose our other 2 things. Those are copies. They do not trigger the Aria Flame. Just point that out. Yeah. That was cool. I really enjoyed that. This was a fun build. I'm going to have to play this again sometime. Yeah, Feather getting there, burning everything out. Getting the old Stuffy Doll Blasphemous Act business going. Oh, yeah. Maybe 1 blank spell just to reset a Stuffy Doll if that ever becomes relevant. So, yeah, thoughts on the deck. I thought it was pretty cool. I really enjoyed this. We only got 1 damage to each opponent out of the electrostatic field. That was a mistake. Not a lot of board wipes this game, other than the thing that we played. So we would have gotten more damage out of it. I'm still not completely sold that these are, like, the best place to be, but, you know, having a little bit of free damage, isn't awful, and especially having it supported by the, you know, these bigger burn spells. But the key to this deck is ramp. You do need a lot of mana to make all this stuff work, so Gilded Lotus was key for us. Cracking the Myriad Landscape early was also key. So just more mana production. You will see a Mana Geyser in this deck. Really good for that turn where you need to go off. Opponent's got a lot of mana. Good number of red cards in the deck too, so some decks are more white focused, and Mana Geyser does get awkward in those decks. So Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I thought it played really well. We did draw really well, so I don't know that every single draw is going to play out exactly as this one did. We hit lands when we needed them to. We got the Stuffy Doll, Blasphemous Act. The Wheel of Fortune got countered, which I'm sure would have been terrible for us if that resolved. So that would have been bad news. Yeah, I really liked it. A few little things could probably tweak. Let's see. You could add a Sword of Sinew and Steel. You could also go the Fire and Ice route, but those are just really expensive. So I assume that Jared is probably working on like some type of budget. That being the case, Sinew and Steel, last I looked, I think is about $8, so not too bad. But Sinew and Steel is going to give you repeatable artifact removal and Planeswalker removal, which is also really good. It's going to pump up Feather's toughness, power and toughness, which is relevant against some things. And the only thing that you have to worry about is that you can't target it with red stuff. And as far as I can tell, I think that's actually just Crimson Wisps and Expedite. And those are good cards, but maybe there's a reason to... Maybe you switch back to some of the other non-red stuff, the Niveus Wisps that I cut. That's a question. That's a question. So you can definitely get like some good protection going with Hammer. Dark Steel Plate's already in the deck, and Sword of Sinew and Steel I really do like. In addition to all of the typical feather protection spells and things like that. I do like the equipments because once they're on there, you don't need to keep spending mana to keep doing the thing. You're kind of free to use your mana on the following turns, and protecting Feather is just a big deal anyway. You just need to keep Feather in play. So I would probably look to add these into the deck. I have no idea what's coming out. I don't know. Maybe I'm just like not that sold on these guys. They would have did some work there at the end, but they're very fragile. I feel like they're just going to get blown up to stuff. I don't know. That's kind of where I'm leaning right now. But anyway, yeah, so this is an interesting little take on the deck. Kind of got away from like all the stuff that you usually see in Feather. We still got some cantrips, but it's not like a super heavy cantrip build. In that regard, I wouldn't mind seeing another card draw spell in there. I think I did probably cut one too many because the deck is going to play significantly worse without one. So maybe one needs to come back in. Definitely the Hammer and Sword of Sinew and Steel are definitely big-time contenders for things that I would want to add. Would need to play test this a little bit more, see exactly which cards aren't making the cut and which ones are. I might even go like another multi-producing mana ramp. Actually, a couple other things too. For this deck, I would get rid of Sunholm. Reliquary Towers, yeah, Reliquary Tower can stay. That's fine. Okay, and then I'm just gonna add a basic back in that slot. Although I do like Spine Rock Knoll. This may not be the best Spine Rock Knoll deck though. For now, just add a basic. Like I've talked about many times, you have to make sure you really want the colorless lands that are in your deck. And for this one, we're just not going on the double strike plan. I don't think we attacked with Feather at all in that game. Like Feather just sits there as a tool to be able to do the other stuff. But I'm sure there's probably a lot of other like cool pieces of tech that could go into this deck. It's kind of something I just whipped up on the fly to try to make this Spellslinger or Burn style deck happen. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with the results. So anyway, yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, feel free to comment, like, or subscribe. Thank you for watching.